Lambergan.
I'm Roderick Gales.
And I'm Javer de la Peña.
We are from Group 5 and we are going to tackle about the survey research. Survey research. The questionnaire, the interview, and developing a survey instrument. So here is our learning object. First, to identify the parts of survey questionnaire. So, survey research uses questioning as a strategy to elicit information from subjects in order to determine the characteristics of selected population on one or more variables. So, survey research is a method of collecting data by asking questions to a sample individual who represent a larger population. The goal is to obtain the information about the attitudes, opinions, behaviors, and characteristics of population on one or more interests.
Okay, so the questionnaire. What is questionnaire, by the way? It is a male questionnaire that has been heavily criticized in recent times. With that said, class, it means that ikapila na nato gigamit ang questionnaire. So every time that we conducted a research, every research naagid na ang questionnaire. So ang mga survey questionnaires, for me na nato gigamit, and that is the misuse and abuse of questionnaires. So what are the advantages of questionnaires? First, remote subjects. It is the use of existing postal systems or more recently, the internet. Contact can be made with almost any literate population of interest. So, ang pasabot ani class, kay sa questionnaires mong good, unlike sa kanang interview, pwede na to makandak ang questionnaires through internet. So, pwede na to i-email ang questionnaires nga para bitong masayon o kanang dali na kayo sa to ang maka-cater of subjects. Just like in Google Form, pwede na to ma-cooperate ang questionnaires through Google Form nga pwede po mansiran sa itong mga respondents. Second, researcher influence. It is the standardized wording of a printed questionnaire that reduces researcher interference in subject responses. So, aside sa internet, pwede na to siya ipa-answer through Google Form, pwede siya of course sa paper, hard copy. Next is the cost. Even with the high cost of postage, the mailed questionnaire is still the most economical means per subject for gathering data. So, in cooperation with the remote subjects, makalas punta sa kanang mga gasto bitaw nato sa mga questionnaire. So, kung dak-an na kayo ta magamit ng mga bond paper, magdak-an pagid kayo ta sa print, why not igamit nato, gamiton nato ang internet. So, maka-last kayo ta sa gastuhonon. Fourth, reliability. The standardized wording and structured questions of the questionnaire provide higher reliability in the data that it is practically able to be obtained by the interview. So in conducting a questionnaire surveys to the respondents, naadiri po nga ma-structure bitaw nato ang questions, dili lang kay pataka lang ta kay unlike sa interview pod, pwede siya subjective. And then kani sa questionnaire, kailangan siya na siya pag-part na objective. And then subject's convenience. The questionnaire is completed at the subject's convenience. So pag magpa-answer ito ka ng questionnaire sa itong mga respondents, depende siya sa respondents kung kanusaan niya ansiran. So, parehas sa ito ang mga research group, parehas nilang katubitaw nagpahatag og questionnaire survey sa mga ST. Kung kanus silang available na mag-answer sa questionnaires, pwede siya masulod diri ang convenience sa subjects. Pero ang naka-problem po na, i-discuss po natin sa disadvantages. Okay, so disadvantages of questionnaires. First, the rate of return. From the word itself, sa questionnaires manggod kay depende magud na kung kano sa convenient ang atong subject para mo answer sa questionnaires. Pero ang problema ani kanang pagko-collect na tong balik. Kay there are times manggod sa mga respondents na to nga, "Hay, hala, wala para ba ko naka-answer kanang pwede balikan na lang nimo." That is one of the problems sa to ang mga researchers. Which kanang napay formula nga ginatawag, it is the identify rate of return. So because wala man tayong blackboard I want you to get a piece of paper and then try to solve this one. The rate R divided by S R divided by S minus ND and then times to 100. So with that said, makabalot na kung pila na lang ka data ang wala pa napasa sa DUA. Second is inflexibility. The structure of a written questionnaire also limits the researcher's ability to probe subjects' responses or clarify misunderstanding. So, unlike sa interview, pag namagod sa kanang sa questionnaires na to sa paper, mo na gid na, fix na gid na. Pero pag interview pag good kay, night times nga, ay hala, mali di akong question, so pwede pa nato siya ma-change kay verbally man. Pero pag sa questionnaires man good, na siya sa hard copy. So kung unsa to na-print mo, kung unsa mo na structure or na-construct na questions through paper, dili na nato siya ma-change. Third is subject motivation. There is no way to determine the motivation level of the subjects when they fill out the form. So kani siya, dili na to ma-identify kung unsay gibati sa atong mga respondents. Once they are answering the questionnaires, matakabalo, happy ba siya, sad ba siya, naglagot ba siya, kay nagdungag-dungag ka silang trabahoon. Unlike sa interview mga good class, ma-identify na to nga, once we are talking with the respondent, makabalot na kung unsay yung gibati. Pero pag sa kanang questionnaire lang nga sila mismo, even kanang si Chamber, sige siya ganyan nga, magsulat kanina si Chamber no. So maligoy, sige nga, pag-answer ani. Kinana, dili ta makabalong kung sige bati sa respondent. Pero pag interview, makabalong na nga, naway times no, plastic mo na itong mga respondent ka, yes ma, anak. Pero pag sa questionnaire, kay so maligoy, zero kong answer, anak. So mo na ang mga disadvantages. Fourth, verbal behavior only. The questionnaire data is limited to the responses subjects choose to make. So, in questionnaire class, kung unsa itong mga choices na ito, mara po itong ansiran. Further, times po na kanamit may others, so pwede siya masulod nila. And lastly, loss of control. Researchers give up control over the administration of the questions on the survey forms. So, wala tayong control when it comes to answering the forms. Kaya depende po na siya sa tuang mga respondents. And just what like I've always said, naging siya big difference compare sa interview and then questionnaire. I will give the floor to Jonalyn Abargay to discuss to us the types of questionnaires.
So it's very important to know what type of questionnaire we're going to create. So here are the two types of questionnaire. First is structured, close-ended. Provides a predetermined set of answers from which the subject chooses. Example, what kind of college did you attend? So you will just check private secular college or state college or other. So in structured, close-ended, so no follow-up questions. So the second is unstructured. It is open-ended question. This question asks the subject to answer information without providing choices. Example, describe the kind of college you attended. So, in unstructured, it is open-ended. You will state or discuss what's your answer. So the next is guidelines for developing questionnaire. So first is asking questions. A good question is specific, clearly presented, and generates an answer that is definite and quantifiable. So it is very important in questionnaire too. First is to asking questions. Second, their instructions. It is easy to assume that anyone would know how to complete the form due to clear instructions for completing the survey. So it is very important in a questionnaire that you have clear instructions for the respondents to understand. So the third one is understandable format. The order of questions in the questionnaire should not confuse subjects. So again, it's very important to the understandable format para dili makaning malibog ang mga respondents pag-answer. And lastly is demographic at the end. Describe the subject who is answering the questionnaire and general categories like age, gender, economic status, educational level, and other such personal information. So, at the end, kailangan of demographic profile sa kaning kuan sa questionnaire. Kailangan man necessary na ay age,
gender, economic status, o educational level for ma-identify po.
3, action.
Okay, so let us proceed to the interview. An oral questionnaire where subjects answer questions live in the presence of researchers or their assistants. So, this oral questionnaire is different from what was discussed earlier by Angel Cañete, which is the survey questionnaires. When you are given a survey questionnaire, you don't need to be asked orally about the questions that was written in the paper. Instead, you are just going to answer it by checking or writing an essay about the specific question that was being asked. But here in the oral questionnaire, there are no written answers. Instead, you are going to answer it verbally. Now, here are the advantages of interview. Number 1, we have the flexibility. A face-to-face interview affords greater flexibility than the more rigid written questionnaire. So, of course, when you talk about flexibility, it is the ability to answer the questions that are not written in the survey questionnaire. The difference between the interview and the survey question is that when there are questions that are incomprehensible with you, you can ask that to the people giving the questionnaire. But when we have here the interview, you can ask the things that you don't understand. Second is motivation. When interviewers and subjects are facing each other, the motivation levels of subjects can be directly observed and noted. So, according kagani nga kay Angel, dili na tumabantayan kung nakakasulan na ba sila sa mga survey questionnaires nga gihatagan. So, dili imo makita ang ilahang expressions. Here sa interview, makita nimo kung na-motivate ba sila sa questions, naa ba sila nakalibgan, or nakasabot ba sila sa questions nga gusto nimo ipangutana sa ilaha. So third, we have the observation. Researchers can record the manner as well as the content of subjects' answers. Of course, dili lang limited sa survey questionnaires ang imong response nga madawat. Pwede pa ka makapangutana o follow-up questions nga maoy mubuo sa content sa outcome sa imong research. We have here number 4, broader application. Interviewers can gather information from people who cannot read. So, although it is very sad to know na pagyapoy mga tao karon nga dili kabaluo basa, labi na itong mga laglong na nga mga English or depende na sa type of language nga nakarate sa survey questionnaire. Dili man gud sa interview, kung dili sila makasabot og English, pwede sila makapangutana nga, ma'am, sir, pwede ma-translate or pwede ma-bisaya siya kay para akong masabtan. So dili sa interview, diretso nimo mahatag sa iya ang nakabisaya na or naka-contextualize na nga pangutana aron masabtan niya ang mga questions. So number 5, freedom from mailings. Interviewing subjects precludes all of the problems associated with mailing out surveys. Katong kaganina kang Angel nga disadvantage sa survey questionnaires kay usahay dugay nimo madawat or unya-unyaon lang ka, pabalik-balikon ka, diri sa interview diretso nimo makuha ang ilang response. Kaya of course, this is an oral interview. So dili na ka magbalik-balik pa kung pangutana sa iyaha. Disadvantages of interview. So of course, when there is an advantage, there will also be a disadvantage. So time. Questioning scores of subjects one by one in person requires far more time than sending out surveys forms by mail. Of course, mas bugather og daghan time kung mag-interview ka. Labi mapalami na bitaw dahil ng pagpangutana. So mas mo-consume gid siya og time. Then ang interview mo dili limited ang scope sa imong pagpangutana. Kung itandi nimo siya sa survey questionnaires, kung unsay naa dito, mura pud iyang tubagon. Number 2 is the cost. While the cost of postage is avoided by interviewing subjects, interviewing involves other expenses. Kaya kung mag-survey questionnaires manggug ka, pwede ra nimo siya ipa-online ka nga mangutana. Sa interview manggug kay kinahanglan gyud face to face busa adtuan gyud nimo ang imuhang respondents. Number 3, interviewer effect. personal characteristics, social skills, competence, gender, appearance, all of these factors will produce a variance in subject responses to questions. Of course, naatay mga respondents po nga mag-base sa mga personal perspectives nila and of course, ila sa tong tindugan. Example sa gender, kung na kay mga questions dito nga para sa ila is offensive, of course, mo stand out po sila sa iyong mga pangutana. And unfortunately, basi na mo arise po nga argument or debate. And number 4, interviewer variables. Differences among interviewers, their values, beliefs, and biases may introduce distortion in the way interviewers interpret and record responses by subjects. Of course, interviewer's effect and interviewer variables, og lahi-lahi mo mga prinsipyo sa kinabuhi, unya mag one-on-one talk mo, of course, di gini malingkayan nga na ay mga argument nga mo arise. So, instead unta ang goal lang nimo ato is maka-ask og opinion or maka-answer sa imong pangutana, nag-result na hinuon ni sa argument or dili ninyo pagka-sinabtanay. Okay, so that will be my part and I will going to give the floor to Miss Janet Bugay.
There are two types of interview, the structured and the unstructured. The structured or closed-ended is simply an oral questionnaire. So diri nimo mag-collect ka og data para maka-cook up ka sa imong topic. Sa unstructured or open-ended or free response interview presents the subject with open-ended questions. So diri kailangan pa ka magkuha og participants para maka-collect ka og data or topic nimo. So here are guidelines for interview. First, recording responses. The subject responses need to be accurately recorded during the interview. So diri kailangan po ka mag-record para makakuha ka og kanang idea. There is a recording and responses. Second is interviewer skills. Before the study begins, interviewers should be given adequate practice in asking questions, fielding responses, probing, clarifying instructions, and recording answers. So there is a interviewer skills. Murag imo na bitaw gi-studyhan bitaw ay ka mag-interview. Third is the demographics first. Demographics come first in the interview, last in the questionnaire. So diri murag kanang sa demographic first is kanang bitaw nasa statement of the problem. So imo nang gikuan bitaw gi step by step bitaw ay nimo makuha nimo ang kanang topic nimo. Alternative modes. Aside from face-to-face interviews, researchers can conduct interviews by telephone. So diri murag sayon ra bitaw kayo nimo siya makuan kay interview naman nakakandak na ka kanang kuan kanang topic nimo. That's all. Give the floor to Roderick Dales.
So next will be the developing survey instruments. So first is specify the survey objectives. So to specify the survey objectives, first you should follow the SMART rule, which is S for specific, M for measurable, A for achievable, and R for relevant, and T for time bound. And then next will be write good questions. So in writing questionnaire should write or you should put only those important details or important mga details when you are writing a questions. Then evaluate and select the best items so they can pick or get those best questions nga appropriate. And then next will be the format of the survey. And fifth will be the write clear instructions. So in giving in developing a survey instrument or clear, you should the questionnaire should have a clear instruction so that ang mga respondents dali ra nila mansiran. And then next will be the pilot. Last day is the pilots, the study. So pilot study is a small feasibility design to test various aspects of the methods planned for a larger, more rigorous or confirmatory investigation. So pilot study helps the researcher spot any ambiguities or unusual things, and confusion in the information given to participants or problems with the task device. And that's all for the developing the survey instrument. Lastly, we'll give the floor to May Ann Linsidor.
So good morning everyone. So we are here now in an conclusion. Survey research gathers specific data from a large group of people that possess that data. We have developed advantages, disadvantages, and guidelines for using the mailed questionnaire and the personal interview in this study. So according to Rino, gisgutan na kung sa advantages o disadvantages kung saan ang paggamit sa mailed questionnaire o ang personal interview kung saan ang paggandak sa research. So, ang importante lang gid siya nga ang as a researchers, no, kailangan gid ta makabalo sa ang pag-handle sa disadvantages, no, as well as sa ang paggandak sa ang mga advantages, no, sa research. So, kinahanglan sad mo nga makabalo sad ta as a researcher. So, thank you.